Warning! This episode contains explicit language, excess violence, somehow more torture, and as always, childhood trauma. Also, the spoilers for Part 3, Chapters 13 through 24 of Murtagh, the fifth novel in the World of Eragon by Christopher Paolini. Listen at your own risk.
Is this a podcast, or is this just fantasy? We're just two nerds and we love our fantasy. So join us if you want to nerd out. Time to start the podcast and see. And anyway, here's the show.
Hello, readers. I'm Dane Patterson, the host who would definitely also go through some light torture if it meant I got to become a blood brother with an Urgle. I mean, come on, Murtagh. Pain's temporary, but glory as an Urgle is forever.
And I'm Jackie Lanier, and is this a podcast or is this just fantasy? A podcast where the boys are emo and the torture is gruesome, but at least we try to go out on a battle-crazed high note. That's a good time.
That's fun. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, because come on, this is gold. There's a link in the show notes. And if you can't or just don't want to, we totally understand. It just says that you please rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast.
Yes, and if you need a little pick-me-up after this section, check out our premium World of Eragon memes on social media. We are on TikTok at Is This Just Fantasy Pod and on Instagram at Just Fantasy Pod. And maybe I'm delaying a little bit before we have to do the sad section of this book, or maybe I always just do recaps as a part of the structure of the show.
No.
Who's to say? Either way, I want to give you a quick reminder of what happened in the first half of our adventure in Nal Gorgoth. Murtagh and Thorn, loosest of plans in hand, roll up to this remote village, guns literally blazing. The buildings, art, and even inhabitants seem archaic and alien to them, and the weird vibes crank up to 11 when they meet Bashel, the glam rock half-elf in charge of this freaky cult. She drops bomb after bomb about this place, from Murtagh being the chosen one in a coming apocalypse to other dragons and riders having visited here, while managing to avoid answering a single question during her first very well-organized but spooky party. So Murtagh and Thorn decide to do their own recon, turning up some forsworn artifacts, a vapor-leaking cave, and enough nightmares to fuel a lifetime of therapy. But despite the hater segment worth of signs that they should have gotten the fuck up out of here, Murtagh and Thorn are committed to untangling this mystery. And for their poor decision-making, they're rewarded with an invitation to your least favorite fantasy pastime, a boar hunt. This one is full of fungus, visions of black suns and behemoth dragons, and mercy killings. And getting a front row seat to a toothless tarot reading and the cold stream confession ritual on their return definitely has our boys leaning toward the door. But maybe a little sunk cost fallacy has them thinking they can't leave Nal Gorgoth, and all they got was a crummy villain's clasp. And one last little feast never hurt anyone, right? I guess if it's an opportunity for a powerful and evil cult leader to get her hooks in you and get you to stay just one more night, maybe a feast did hurt somebody.
Yes, for sure.
They decide they really do need to get up out of this place. Right after they do just a quick check on what they're sure must be a totally easy to handle mystery inside of the ominous as fuck cave. I couldn't believe that something bad happened to Murtagh down there.
Shocking.
He gets ambushed by Bashel and her head henchman, and we faded to black last time as Murtagh takes a doomed breath of his first hallucinogens. And drugs are bad, Dane. What after-school special lesson do you think Murtagh is about to learn from this experience?
Listen to Miss Ronald Reagan.
Yes. Right. Nancy told us, say no, Murtagh.
Nancy told us no, Murtagh. And you should know better.
That's fair. Well, before we do kick off into torture on torture on torture, I wanted to do something fun and kind of goofy. This is going to be a bit of a ride because I will be Googling stuff in real time.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I want to, since this is so focused, this cult is called The Dreamers. I want to do a little dream decoding.
I believe they call it Drama.
The Drama.
The Drama.
Their formal, their Christian name.
The Christian name.
Their government name. So I've had a lot of bad dreams about my teeth falling out, which I've been told by some of my more like woo-woo friends is a symbol of a loss of control.
Oh.
I did look this up on dreamdictionary.org. That's how you know it's reputable. It's a .org.
It'll be in the show notes, everybody.
Yes. I think, though, the .org characterizes your teeth falling out or like It's crazy. They have all these, like, teeth dreams are very common. So, like, the categories include rotting teeth, broken, chipped, or crooked. Teeth falling out says it's, like, the most common of teeth dreams. And, like, instead of symbolizing a loss of control, this dreamdictionary.org says that it's more like it's bringing awareness to your speech, support, your loss, and your insecurities. So, like... maybe your inability to hold things together, like fundamental things like your speech and
you're a mess. So
I know.
I'm just kidding.
So that's what they say about teeth dreams. I was wondering what kind of recurring dream. Tell me a little bit about a recurring dream you have, and I'm going to look up some of the symbolism.
My son was like not alive yet,
Okay.
but I did have it before, like right before that, and I've had it all the way back to like 2012,
Okay.
I think, or 2011. It might
Okay.
even be earlier than that.
Circa when inheritance dropped.
Yeah, like I
was
had
when
it,
these dreams started.
Yes, and for
I'm
a
just
while.
saying there might be connections.
Wait till you hear the dream. For a while, it was like reoccurring every night, and then it was like every week for like years.
Oh, shit.
It was
Okay.
wild. I was in a high-rise building eating sushi.
Okay.
Okay, I'm eating sushi. There's one sushi chef there.
Okay.
Then Donald Trump comes in.
In 2012?
Yes. And says,
What is this, Home Alone?
No, this is Apprentice. It's Apprentice times.
Oh.
And he tells me, you're hired.
Were you working in reality TV at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the sushi chef turns around and he says, I'm hired. And then I don't want to be hired. And I run out the window of the high rise.
Okay.
And I'm flying. I jump out.
Okay.
And fly away. And then it cuts to me back eating sushi and loops again. And it
Okay.
just keeps looping. I had that dream for a decade
Okay.
or more.
Let's see.
Yeah, about a decade.
That's fucking crazy.
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
Yeah. So see if dreamsdictionary.org can help you with that one.
Can get me out of this pickle. Okay, I have dreams of quitting your job, but that's not what we're talking about.
No.
I do have dreaming of heights. You said specifically a high-rise building.
Yes, and I was like at the window.
Yes.
Yeah.
So closely associated with heights representing losing control in certain areas of your life. So where is instability arising?
Oh, wild.
Do you feel like 2012 was a particularly tumultuous time in your life?
I've always had it together. They've all been tumultuous years. What do you mean?
Dreamdictionary.org would like to know, does this dream connect you to your relationships, work environments, financial issues, or emotional instability? Interesting. Work environments is the first choice.
It is.
Because you got hired there.
I did. Very strange.
I feel positive flying is about to be in here. So
Yeah,
let me
flying's
do a
gotta be a
quick,
thing, right?
yes. Flying dreams, often metaphors relating to your own personal freedom, control, and unconscious abilities that you may possess.
Oh, like flying.
So do you think Donald Trump hired you because of like a secret power you have that you didn't know about and your dream was trying to tell you about?
I have no idea. You know what's even weirder is, and I know that sounds weird because he's the president of the was the president of the United States, but like I did not watch The Apprentice.
That is weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's just a weird dream.
That is a weird dream.
I also have a dream very often of falling.
Yes.
Like I would say I have that. That's probably the most common one. That's not like
Okay.
a narrative. I have falling dreams a lot.
Yes. I think falling dreams are in general.
They flying dreams?
No, falling is a little different.
Oh, falling's not flying. Interesting. Tell that to your friends who skydive.
Yes,
And tell
meaning
you-
of falling dreams. Most frequent among all the common dreams we experience in our lifetime.
I'm a normie.
Basic bitch.
Yeah. Okay, can I do one more?
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah.
So I've had this dream a bunch.
Okay.
It is me in a tent, like a circus tent
Okay.
that is very large, and I'm being hunted for by a like a circus ringmaster.
Okay.
But it is a bug that has a spotlight in his hand, and it's moving the spotlight up and down, like so the spotlight's
Ooh.
moving, and I'm trying to run away from the spotlight, and he's going, Dane, Dane, and that
what
is
kind of bug?
It's like a termite, I would say,
Ew.
or like an ant.
Kevin looks like you're
Dude, it's a nightmare. I wake up every
Sent here
single
from
time.
Lucifer.
Every single time I wake up absolutely covered in sweat, Terrified.
Okay, chase dreams are metaphoric for running away or not facing something in our lives. These repressed fears or ignored feelings manifest as masked men, animals, monsters, devils, killers, just to get our attention. Recurring chase dreams occur when the dreamer has ignored this problem for too long. A warning from the unconscious to face your fears before it overpowers you.
Weird.
That's weird.
Well, on that note, let's get into it.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'm ready.
I'm not.
I know.
All right, here we go.
We just had fun.
I know. We were laughing. It was all great.
Remember the fun times.
All right, chapters 13 through 15. I'm kicking off this episode with not a foreboding at all chapter titled Nightmare.
Great.
And I bet this is a fun and light chapter.
Yeah, it really seems like it.
And it starts with, and this is true, Jax, Murtagh having nightmares.
What?
Shocking.
What do you think Christopher Paolini means by that?
I don't know. Let's go to dreamwhatever.org. There's something large, and a general vibe is doom in this dream and violent destruction of his body by dragons in an endless void.
Great.
We smash cut to Murtagh as king of the empire with Bashel at his side. Then we smash cut to him in his cell in Eurobane with spiders and mold and more pain. Then we smash cut to Thorn hatching. Finally, we smash cut to Murtagh swearing fealty to Gal with baby. Thorn's endless torture. It's not great.
It's so bad.
It's a pretty
the
good
baby
nightmare.
Thorn stuff. Ugh.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Pretty good nightmare, though, Paolini. Bashel is there when Murtagh wakes, commanding him to rise and blowing more of the green dust at him. And already Murtagh thinks the breath isn't gross at all and wants more of it.
Oh.
I wish Murtagh had left.
Yeah.
He's trapped.
A bit.
And like a lot of famous depressed poets, he now has an addiction, maybe.
I
You know what I mean?
this really is. Spoiler alert, I've not written any analysis about drugs, but maybe I should have.
It keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Is that just us? No.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, he is so disoriented he can't remember Grieve's name.
Fuck.
And doesn't even notice that Grieve has his sword, I think. Every time his brain starts to clear up, Bashel blows this crap into his face, and he can't even really communicate with Thorn, who's freaking out outside the cave.
Yeah.
And then Bashel blows this stuff at Thorn. It's all very sad.
Thorn, not our baby.
Yeah, Bashel calls Thorn the, quote, slave of dream.
No.
Which is ominous, especially as she is surrounded by a bunch of crows flying all around her. But I have to say, Slave of Dream is a fantastic band name, and the cover art for this debut album kind of makes itself.
Stop.
In this scene. It's the perfect for Murtagh and Thorn.
I think I actually did know a coffee shop hipster that was in a band called Slave of Dream back in my ditching school days, Dane.
So hilarious. Michelle locks Thorn up in a courtyard and leads Murtagh to a cell under the temple where she makes him drink something that is either another drug or a sleeping draft, which means, you guess it, more nightmares.
Great.
Now he's with Gal in this nightmare in the arena where he says he killed his first man.
Ooh.
I'm going to put a pin in that because we're about to watch as 4-day-old Thorn is put against 3 timber wolves.
Fuck.
The wolves fuck Thorn up pretty good, and Murtagh's trying to give him instructions in his head.
Yeah.
Until at last his instincts kick in and he kills all the wolves in a bloody, vicious little fight. It's brutal and evil and gross, and we learn that every time Thorn needed food while he grew up, he had to fight for it in the arena. Poor little Thorn.
I mean,
This Gal guy.
I was just going to say, if nothing else turned you, Dane, this guy seems like a dick.
He seems like a real bad guy.
Yes.
After that horror show, Murtagh wakes with a jolt in his cell, aching and still confused as hell, but nowhere near the total lack of functional thought we just saw.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's like with it a little more.
A little bit more. He
Okay.
remembers nothing after his first dose of vapor.
Oh, shit.
And he's immediately terrified for Thorn, but he has no hint of their link or any of the broader senses of consciousness.
Such a red flag.
Yes. As this shitstorm gets shittier when he discovers he also can't use magic,
Great.
which leads him to recognize the taste in his mouth as Vorgathan. Is that how you say it?
Vorgathan, yeah.
Vorgathan? This is something we've seen before. Durza gave it to Eragon and Arya in Gilead, and High Queen President's Magic Gestapo is now in charge of giving it to the magicians who refuse their oaths of fealty.
Uh-oh.
Just when you thought I wouldn't bring up the Magic Gestapo again.
I mean,
did it
every
anyway.
opportunity.
So just as Murtagh is spiraling, a deep voice from the cell across the way is telling him his magic is useless.
Aw, yeah.
And it turns out his new neighbor is the best part of this section.
Yes.
He tells Murtagh that vapor was the capital B breath
Okay.
everyone's been talking about.
Yes.
And all Murtagh can think to ask this dude is why he speaks the common tongue.
Great.
We'll give him a pass because he's a little strung out on all kinds of weird shit. But priorities, Murtagh.
Yeah, don't be a racist, dude.
He's been a little bit racist. The Urgal introduces himself as Uvek.
Yes.
Honorable mention for his alias, Wind Talker,
Fuck yeah.
and Peak Climber.
Fuck yeah, Uvek.
Yeah, and even though Murtagh is being a little bit of a dick to him, he's heard of our guy.
Okay.
He doesn't judge Murtagh's past battles against the Urgals.
That's nice.
And he even has a bit of a laugh that Murtagh is alive when the psychotic Urgal warlord who almost killed him as a teen is dead.
That's true. He's like, I mean, which one of you is alive, though? Which one of you is dead?
What an absolute pro.
Yeah.
And I think Uvek is almost immediately my top tier of characters.
I think so, too. I definitely got big Garshbra, like, Eragon's being a racist, and Garshbra is, like, still trying to, like, relate to him and being actually very chill.
Yes.
Uvek has that about him for sure.
Totally. Uvek knows that Murtagh can't access magic because he's also a magic user. An Urgal shaman.
Fuck yeah.
What a badass dude. Unfortunately for this burgeoning buddy pair, Murtagh spontaneously falls back into his tortured dreams mid-convo. Not up to snuff with his normal courtly manners.
No. This would be a little rude, I think.
Yes, exactly. Pray Sindri that these nightmares aren't explicitly on screen.
Okay.
But the overview still sounds wild as Murtagh tries to sense Thorn or cling to any scrap of his identity while the same evil void waits for him to fall in.
Yes, that hungry, insatiable. Ugh.
Yeah. He wakes to a bucket of water thrown on him by the acolytes here to top up his doses before dragging him out of his cell straight to Bashel's chambers, set up exactly like the Hall of Soothsayers when Nasawada was in prison.
Oh, right, like the slab in the middle. I just, like, between the Gal flashbacks with Thorn and, like, the present-day nightmare cult, Murtagh's story is just, like, gross on sad, on trauma, on tragedy. It's a tough sell right now.
Yeah, this section really bummed me out as I read it.
Yes, same.
Bashel rolls in, decked out in a new headdress with a dragon mask that alters her features into something otherworldly. It sounds exactly like Captain Weirin's bear mask.
Yes.
So that guy is a dreamer confirmed, right?
I think so, yeah.
We knew the
Gotta be.
We knew the kitten napping was on behalf of the dreamers, but
Yes.
his wizard was a dreamer.
Yes.
So he just seems sus in general with the weird hands. So now with the masks, I'm ready to call it.
Okay,
Guy's
I'm
for
with
sure
you.
a dreamer.
Yeah.
To coordinate with the mask, Bashil is wearing hand jewelry that gives her claws. So maybe she's in her fashion era.
I think so, yeah.
Trying something new.
Yes, I'm just realizing we're really taking a page out of Thorne's book and engaging heavily in gallows humor this episode. Everybody, buckle up. We only have one way to be.
Anyway, she wants Murtagh to do all the classic stuff. First to submit to her, which is, classic evil witch moves.
Yep.
Then she wants him to be a puppet king.
Great.
She'll be his high priestess.
Perfect.
And together they'll take over the empire.
Well, why not?
Easy as pie. Basically, she wants her own figurehead, like Tom Cruise type for her cults.
Hey, this is a Tom Cruise positive podcast.
I didn't say it was bad. It's working for them. We also find it is bad. We also finally learn a bit about this cult's religion. First, they worship Aslagur, the devourer, the dreamer, the firstborn, he who sleeps and whose sleeping mind warps the waking world.
I mean,
So presumably, this being is what gives Bashel the power and presence of another that Murtagh has mentioned a few times.
Yes.
Aslagur sounds like an ancient and bad guy, just right off the bat.
I'm just like, we gotta give credit where credit's due, though. Like, the names and titles, Dane, fucking top tier. Really good stuff from Christopher Paolini. The Devourer, dude, so good.
The name's bad when, you don't say it until you have someone in shackles. You're like, by the way, he's the Devourer.
Just so you know.
He reminds me of Robogug, the Destroyer from the Pathfinder gaming mythos, if anybody plays Pathfinder. But in the real world, it also brought to mind, Jormungandr, which I think is how you say the serpent in Norse mythology.
Okay.
I'm probably not. I'm probably saying that wrong. That causes earthquakes and will wake and eat the world. Ooh. Or even, honestly, Shiva from Hinduism, who is known as the Destroyer.
Yeah.
Though I'm less familiar with Shiva and his Hinduism. All that to say, right off the bat, I'm getting really bad, mega dude vibes that sound like some world-ending, Armageddon stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure. This seems like a death cult.
Yeah. And fun addition, Aslagur is apparently restless and will soon wake.
Oh, good.
So the dreamers are preparing the world for that.
Good.
Only his worshippers will get great power, even better than the gray folk who made the ancient language. So classic evil, evil god stuff.
Yes, evil god stuff, little light dash of prepperism.
Yeah, it's all fantastic.
Woof.
When Murtagh weirdly doesn't want to join up after this whole spiel, she starts going after his wards and fucking him up with her onyx claws, pressing down on his heart until the wards break and her claws sink into his body.
Gross.
Bashel then floods his mind and he tries something I don't think we've ever seen described before.
Okay.
Instead of having like a wall fighting her off in this mind fight,
like locked up.
yeah, he instead just bends without letting her fully in, allowing her to flow around his thoughts without staying in one place.
Yeah.
Murtagh is truly good at this as he keeps it up while trying to break out, while being stabbed over and over, while still on drugs. Murtagh might be the best mind fighter confirmed that we've seen.
Okay.
I really think that's the vibe because, I mean, we saw Arya and Eragon fight and like how they were not very practiced at that. We've only seen Murtagh succeed at this with elves, with Gal.
True.
He just like seems to be able to do this.
Yes.
Anyway.
That makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
I think if Gal weren't dead, I might have questions about best mind fighter.
Yeah.
But with Gal gone, I think your boy's got the top spot, Dane.
I think
you're
so.
right.
I'm not going to focus on the torture or any more of that mind stuff. But Bashel tells him she will take him either way.
Great.
Whole and handsome or insane and disfigured.
Oh.
It's not great here, guys.
It's not great, Dan.
Before this section wraps up, we learn a couple more things. First, that Azlagor speaks to the dreams, but hopefully we all guessed that by now. Also, Bashel is Azlagor's avatar.
Great.
So she gets even more intense and special dreams.
I mean, no wonder she's such a bitch, dude. She hasn't had a good night's sleep in like a lifetime. I thought it was just the daddy issues.
It's never just the daddy issues.
So true.
So it's an end of times cult, which is not great. Least good cult, I would say. You kind of want to land on a peace and love cult or like a yoga or tea cult if you're going to be struck in by a cult. But hey, that's the brainwashed. Don't get to choose, I guess, huh?
I guess not. It does take us to chapters 16 through 18. I will do my best to make it through this section, but it is full-blown torture porn, and I don't think 2.0 is a high enough number to convey the escalation from what we saw with Naswada in Inheritance. It's off the charts compared to that, I think.
Yes.
Murtagh spends hours dispatching every trick he learned under Urobane to foil Bashel's efforts to subjugate him. It turns out Bashel has some secondary aims in questioning him, namely for intel to figure out how her extensive spy network and possible army, it sounds like, might bring down Naswada, Arya, and even Eragon. Yeah. So she actually has some like crunchy info she's trying to get out of Murtagh. He thinks that this is worse than being tortured by Gal because he made all the wrong choices in that situation. So he does know. And now he knows it's better to die than to give in. And if all of that isn't enough, which hot tip Christopher Paolini, it's enough.
It's probably enough, bud.
He also feels deep down like he deserves what's happening to him as retribution for his life of misdeeds. And it is fucking bleak, dude. He's in a dark, dark place.
It's yucky.
When Bashel finally throws in the torture towel for the day, she has him dragged to the normal well outside for a bath, and the description of Thorn in chains as Murtagh passed by straight up almost made me cry. Yeah. But he's thrown back in his cell to slip back into dream torture, and this one is a whopper. Murtagh sits on Gal's throne in Urobane with Eragon, Arya, Auric, and Naswada broken before him, and the unified army of the continent assembled there to do his bidding. And what he describes feeling in this moment is safe. And I'm just like, Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
He wakes to Uvek checking in on him again, and our guy is in rough shape. But before he can reply, Elaine approaches. She gives Murtagh fresh food and a drink without a word. And I'll be honest, this whole place is so creepy. Yeah. My head says this is supposed to read as her, like, being weird because she's grappling with defying Bashel to show Murtagh kindness, but my heart says she's a little sus because everything's just so bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Uvek seems to think she's on the up and up, though, and I want to trust him because we love him.
Yes.
But the food is still tainted with the Vorgathan, so just TBD on that for now.
So who knows?
Yes, who knows? Before Murtagh starts eating, he's struck by a hyper-realistic vision of Uvek on a mountaintop, and I think he's already starting to lose it. Like, this just seemed like straight-up hallucination, maybe.
Yeah.
He shakes it off, and Uvek says that he was in Bashel's crosshairs until Murtagh shows up, so he's like, I get it, bro. I've been where you've been, which also sucks.
Also, thanks for showing up because I'm not getting tortured anymore.
Yes, yeah, basically. Murtagh is having too difficult of a time keeping up conversation, so he just focuses on trying to bolster his paper-thin link with Thorn to like tragic avail. When the flashes of tortured dragon consciousness seem too sad, Murtagh dwells instead on how Naswada managed to resist him and Gal for so long. It's just like bad to worse to PTSD.
Yeah. And he's no Naswada. to be honest.
No, he's not. He thinks that. He's like, I do not know how she did that. Like, maybe I can learn something.
Yeah.
But as Uvek is getting these like stunted, delirious pieces of Murtagh's time so far in Null Gorgoth as they talk, I knew I fucking liked this guy. His key takeaway is pretty much what we've been saying, like broken records. Murtagh should have left as soon as he got here and killed every single person he could take on the way out.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just like, that's the fucking spirit, Uvek. Sadly, we have to go back to torture hell with Murtagh. Bashel is in the same outfit with the dragon mask and jewelry, but this time she's got a crow on each shoulder. It reminded me of like Odin's two ravens, Hugin and Munnin, which are literally thought and memory. And I'm wondering if this is like a nod to that, since there's so many flashbacks throughout all of this torture, like ravens, crows, murder, bad omen kind of shit.
Yeah,
here.
we're getting all these like bad thoughts and dreams mixed with all these bad memories. You know, there's something there.
Makes a lot of sense here. I think that, as far as symbolism goes, in my professional opinion, right up there.
Perfect.
Yes. So Murtagh thinks briefly of like the monotony of agony, which is so wild to me that he's like, it's just boring to be in this much pain for this long. Yeah. But he's able to pull through by thinking of his true name and his strong sense of self. And it works pretty well, but he can still feel that Thorn is being tortured here.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for these two. They've had rough lives.
Dude.
And like, think of Thorn's experience for being alive so far. He's like a year old, you know?
Oh my God. I didn't even like put together the timelines on Thorn.
Also,
like
this
1
just,
year old.
Yeah, and this just struck with me. I did have like a chronic pain thing for a while.
Yeah.
And like there is a boredom to pain. I think that's, I mean, I've never been tortured, but there is a boredom to like extreme pain after a while. Like it kind of like encapsulates your whole world.
I was going to say, because you can't have thought outside of
Yes,
it.
it's like all you can think about. like to the you kind of forget everything. It doesn't matter how important everything is.
Yeah.
If the pain's hard enough, that's all you think about. And so it's just boring.
That is wild.
But you're stuck in it because it's horrible.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think Christopher Paolini had been through anything like that to make that leap? Like, it's such an evocative, I guess, way to describe that. It struck me. I'm so sorry that happened to you, dude.
No, it's okay. I do think though that like it is a weird point out because it's boredom in a way that you don't know it's boredom until after it's done. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe. I mean, it makes sense. I don't know.
I know. I feel like these guys just cannot fucking catch a break.
They can't catch a break.
And buckle up, because when Murtagh sees Thorn broken like a dog, something in him is pushed beyond the pale. Yeah. I will be honest, like, all the Thorn stuff I think is what gets me. Maybe it's because he's so young. Maybe it's because this is his entire life, with the exception of like 2 months. I don't know.
A few months, maybe.
I cried when I read that scene where Thorn is like broken. It's just too much for me. Yeah. Uvek tries to give Murtagh a pep talk, saying that he's strong inside his head and his heart, and it's like so pure, Uvek. Yeah. So pure. He shares that he's also had the Black Sun, Black Dragon dream, and it's similar to some Urgol lore, which I thought was interesting. The Urgols believe the great dragon Gogvog will rise from the ocean and eat the sun, stars, and moon before bathing the planet in fire. And is that just me, or does it sound like the Needwall? I mentioned briefly my missing link thing, and this is a part of it. Like, a dragon rising from the sea is exactly what the Needwall sounded like when it almost chomped Saphira. And then it also ties into all these descriptions we've had of this like ancient, insatiable hunger. Those are exactly the words that Eragon used when he made contact with the consciousness of the Needwall.
Yeah.
So like,
it was hungry.
It's hungry. Anciently, insatiably hungry. But in any case,
was bored of its hunger.
Yes, probably. But either way, it's not really a cheery story. Missing links or no. But the way Uvek told it made me laugh.
Yeah, he's a bro.
He is funny. I think he says, "We'll be bad time," like the apocalypse.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I bet.
He's like, we're not going to enjoy that.
No. But when it looks like Murtagh might pass out with some serious head trauma, classic, Uvek decides more stories are in order and tells Murtagh how the Dreamers caught him. He says that years ago, he decided mountainside isolation and stump time were the life for him. And I think our yoga daddy would like this guy.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Uvek thought that like Zen solitude would allow him to gain knowledge for his people without getting embroiled in clan politics. But only in hindsight does he realize that the more he learned, the less he knew. Just a little classic Socrates for you, Zane. And the years went by and the clans began to come to Uvek for help, but he always refused because he wanted to stay above the fray. Even when they complained complained about bands of kidnappers with strange amulets. Finally, he was approached by a group of dreamers, and when he tried to refuse to go with them, they took him by force and killed his pet raven, which is a real dick move because Uvek says ravens are lucky.
Yeah.
And Uvek essentially says that he wouldn't be here if he hadn't been a hermit. And even though you might be odd, it's better and easier to find a community than to go it alone, which is a message I think Murtagh really needs to hear. It's a shame that Murtagh is like about to pass out because this needs to sink in badly.
Yes.
Like coffee shop hipsters need their crowds of regulars, Dane. Who else is going to snap at the end of the poetry slams? But I digress. Murtagh is still flipping from torture method to torture method, dreams to physical, and all the hits are here. Bugs, sleep deprivation, waterboarding. It's the worst. Yeah. And when he still isn't yielding, Bashel brings all her might to bear upon him until he breaks. He doesn't swear fealty like last time. And instead, he retreats into his brain to become an unthinking, like wholly acquiescent shell of a person. And his soul partner, Thorn, does exactly the same. Bashel brings them to the throne room to heal them, contemplating whether or not to remove the old sword scar from Murtagh's back and deciding to leave it as a reminder of his flaws. Murtagh is fully dissociated as Bashel has him dressed in ancient finery and declares this day to be the beginning of the end. It's apocalypse time, I guess. Murtagh floats through a haze of days, doing Bashel's bidding, unable to engage with any form of reality. He's just gone here. I won't go into every sordid detail because it's too fucking sad, but there are two things that really stuck out to me. First, for some reason, I feel so bad for Uvek, who is like doggedly trying night after night to talk Murtagh through all of this.
Yeah.
I just wonder like what a saint that dude must be for going this hard to help a stranger. Love Uvek.
Yeah,
and it's
Uvek's
just sad
great
to like watch him get shut out so wholly and keep trying nonetheless.
Yeah.
It's like he really gets it. And the other thing that really, really stuck out to me is peak grossness is Grieve flying on Thorn. I have a feeling you and I are probably in lockstep on this, but it's so disgusting to me.
Yeah, I cannot overstate how much this bothered me. It's pretty extreme, but I felt like so gross because, you know, like Thorn would not consent. So it's,
yes.
I don't know. I didn't like
There's
it.
something so wrong about it. I mean, even when Saphira thought about like maybe letting Arya ride her, it was a really big deal.
Yeah.
And then like, I think it's part of the reason we love Saphira and Bloodgarm so much because we were just like, obviously these two get it because she allowed that.
Yeah, she's like, come on.
And this somehow is like the diametric opposite of that.
It's just gross.
But yes, at some point, Bashel declares it time for the cult's big festival. And judging by what we've seen so far, I do not want to go to this party.
No.
Her parties have already been a mixed bag, and this one seems extra bad, especially because it involves another boar hunt. And Murtagh, dead inside with a spear in his hand, is giving me like major reek-shaving Ramsay Bolton vibes,
Yes.
like the way he just will not stab her. He's thinking through how like acquiescent he is. Ugh. In the post-hunt haze, Bashel divulges some of her personal backstory to Murtagh here. It turns out she killed her mom after it became clear that she was to become the new speaker, and her mom's jealousy drove her to try to kill Bashel. So I'll admit, I was wrong about the issues. They were mommy issues, not daddy issues.
You know what
I will
they say.
take the L on that.
You know what they say, Jax?
Yes?
Dads make strippers. Moms make serial killers.
Fuck. I think that's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. She goes on to reveal that the history of the speakers goes back to the beginning of time and that there are speakers all over Alagasia, kind of like we talked about. Is there no rock bottom, I think, to like how bad this gets?
There isn't. It just keeps getting worse.
No, she continues to describe places in the world where, as Lager's malevolent dreams become flesh and blood and promises to take Murtagh to those places.
Fun.
I don't like the promises, dude.
It's like a Disneyland of horror.
Yes. No. I'm sure he's looking forward to that nightmare field trip. So after that chilling convo, Murtagh discovers his true name is no longer known to him. He has his first brief flare of emotion at that in, I don't fucking know, weeks when he gets angry.
Yeah.
But it devolves quickly into him compulsively washing his hands of the boar's blood until they're raw. Like,
Gross.
It again is such a good and like evocative tie to all the cleanliness we've seen from Murtagh, like the germophobia. It's like he's still him, but he's fucked up kind of beyond recognition, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. It's gross.
Yes, his dreams that night are worse than ever, bringing him into contact with that like twisted, obscure consciousness that reminded him of the craziest, like oldest Eldenari. And this turns into a dream flashback again of Tornak the man, hyping him up.
Tornak, not the horse.
I mean, it's confusing.
All right, so Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, yes, is hyping Murtagh up before a duel. I'm sure it's supposed to be read as a warm memory, the way Tornak's treating him, but in the midst of like how oppressively bleak this section is, I'm just struck by how fucking sad it is that this might be the first time someone has hugged Murtagh since his mom died when Tornak does it in this memory. I'm just like, no. We see Murtagh enter that same arena that Thorn was forced to fight in. Take your pin out. Here we are. This is the first kill memory.
Gotcha.
And the contest is looking bad for Murtagh. He's against this like very good duelist when he catches a lucky break and disarms his opponent. But rather than just declare Murtagh the winner at this point, Gal demands that this child do a cold-blooded murder in front of everyone gathered here.
Yeah.
And the scene with Murtagh like desperately resisting and ultimately perpetrating his first murder is truly horrifying stuff.
Yeah, the guy doesn't want to die, so he has to like brutally kill him.
And the battle rage kind of takes him over too. He's like so frustrated. He feels
he's angry at the guy because the guy won't let him just like put him out of his misery.
Yes, he feels so stuck in this and like really takes it out physically.
It's pretty disgusting. It's like really
wild,
gross. Yeah.
Yes. So I think it's fitting that this nightmare fades out as Gal summons Murtagh to that dinner where we know he assigned Murtagh to raise that village. It's just like, where does it end? What is the bottom? And from that monstrosity, we smash cut to some of the Dreamers' noble spies coming to town for a visit. And who else do you think would be here, Dane, but fucking Lyrith? It is just more salt in the wound because this dude still sucks. Aiming little jabs at Murtagh, like any chance he gets. He's like making fun of this guy.
Yeah.
And we close what has to be the bleakest section on the pod so far with a feast for these visitors, turning to ash in Murtagh's and Thorn's mouths as the murder of crows mocks them from the rafters. And like, can we do some breathing exercises and get an emotional support puppy in here? I'm tapped.
Yeah.
This is bad.
No.
This is bad. We can't have that.
We can't have it. We're not going to dwell on it. I'm just going to keep going.
Onwards.
Chapters 19 through 21, and I'm not going to lie. I feel unprepared to summarize this monstrosity.
What do you mean? That didn't tee you up nicely,
No,
Dane?
but maybe if I die inside like Murtagh, I'll make it through it.
Fuck. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'll be your Uvek.
We open up. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
We open up on Murtagh and Thorn, armed for a fight and being sent off by Bashel with a dose of the breath. When Thorn eyes Bashel, it's the first Murtagh can remember sensing the dragon speak since before their capture.
Yeah.
And the ick factor only ratchets up when fucking Grieve mounts up behind Murtagh to carry out whatever task this witch has sent them. The only thing that made me laugh at all during this, though, was picturing him like holding Murtagh's waist.
Yeah,
the only
you did have to ride behind Murtagh.
Anything that I can
Fuck
pull
that
out
guy.
here. Yeah. The journey starts with what I thought might be a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
I really should have known better by this point in the book. Murtagh and Thorn are getting their first taste of fresh air and glimpses of the outside world. And I thought for a second they might just jolt out of their fugue state.
I kind of thought so too. I think we're probably on the same page. I was like, oh, fresh air, no drugs. Maybe this will be it.
But nope, they just watch the wintry landscape slide by before landing abruptly to join the infantry of this cult army. They're here to take out a group called the Orthrok and steal their supplies.
Yeah.
Grieve commands Murtagh and Thorn to swoop in and lay waste to the Orthrok. And oh boy, do they lay waste. Ugh. I think for my own sanity, I have to spare you all the gory details. But
thank you.
Murtagh and Thorn fall upon the caravan like the hounds of hell.
Yep.
Murtagh thinks this is one of the promised battles with ferocious Urgles from his drug nightmares, and he lets his bloodlust rise to the occasion. He and Thorn single-handedly kill every single Orthrok, and Murtagh even gets caught up in his own legend at one point, thinking he probably should rule the world with Bashel at his side.
It is not great, Dan. This was a tough fucking read.
Things take a serious turn as the haze settles, and it gets worse. And Murtagh realizes that the Orthrok aren't a band of Urgle warriors, but just a simple caravan of human traders with women and children included.
Oh.
Even in his disassociated state, Murtagh is rocked by the weight of what he just did, and I really don't see how he and Thorn are going to come back from this. This is just dark, dude.
Yeah, I think I had the same thought here. Like, even Grieve comments that Murtagh would be better off dead after this happens. And weirdly, like, I took that as probably the kindest thing this bag of dicks has ever said. Like, maybe I'm reading way too far into it, but I felt like even Grieve at this point, like, can recognize how irreparably damaged every last scrap of Murtagh's humanity is. Even he's wishing, like, a mercy kill, basically, on Murtagh. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, force or not, Murtagh's done a lot of evil. And it's just like, come on, man. When they get back, Elaine looks shocked at the state of Murtagh and Thorn.
Fair.
And Lyrith has yet another snide remark on their bloody appearance. But nothing penetrates Murtagh's shell shock. He's bathed and thrown back into his cell, totally hopeless about this situation.
Yeah.
When the hero none of us deserves, Uvek, checks in on his cellmate. I know. Sindri bless this dude, for real.
Yes.
And this is it. It's happening.
Okay.
We've been waiting this whole book.
Oh, thank God.
Probably the whole series, to be honest.
Since we saw him for the first time.
Yeah. Murtagh gathers every ounce of his strength
Yes.
to ask Uvek for help.
Yes, Murtagh.
It feels above anyone's pay grade at this point.
Yeah.
But fuck, I'm pulling for Uvek. Help us out of this hellhole,
Yes,
dude.
we need your help, Uvek. I don't know how anyone could do it, but...
Come on, man. Really, though, I think this is a monumental moment for Murtagh.
Yes.
I can't think of a time Murtagh has asked for help before, and this story, along with his recent meetings with Eragon, has hammered home how stubborn and prideful Murtagh is.
Yeah.
Now he is finally in a place where he can ask for help. He's doing what he should have done at the end of the inheritance cycle.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people think Murtagh was right to dislike or hate Eragon.
Yeah.
And we went over that when we did that book, Inheritance. But what Murtagh needs and has always needed since childhood is help.
Yeah.
And finally, he's ready to ask for it.
Thank fucking God. I mean, it just on the like basis of this being such a huge turn for his character, like you said, it's like, okay, I'm ready to start like
Please help.
getting out of this downward spiral. That was the signal to me in the writing that like, okay, I think maybe we've rock bottomed.
Can you imagine the amount of pride you have to kill multiple kings, fight on the wrong side of a war, be tortured several times, and like it takes like killing a whole village of people to finally be like, you know what? Can you help me?
You know what? Maybe I don't got this.
The level of pride, dude, is wild. It's a bit of a rocky start, as Uvek tells him he can't help.
Oh, no.
Murtagh essentially says he can't go on and he needs help.
Yeah.
And Uvek wonders if Thorn can help. But Murtagh tells him that isn't possible.
Yes, the loop is really looping at this point.
It's a loop.
Yeah.
We get a juicy bit in this exchange about Uvek being a shaman and speaking to spirits.
Yes.
And man, does that have my mind racing?
Yes.
Regardless of what that might mean. We don't have time for anything fun.
No.
He says he can't talk to spirits here.
Okay.
Uvek then pulls out a charm, a stone, and claims that the charm can heal the drug haze if it has energy.
Okay.
And they're both cut off from magic, though, so I don't know how they're going to get into the energy. I have no idea how any of this works. Uvek will give Murtagh the stone if Murtagh will swear to the entire Urgal race to get Uvek out of here when he goes.
Bit of a tough sell for our boy swearing to an entire race.
Yeah, obviously Murtagh won't do that because of the whole like bondage thing.
Yeah, he doesn't like that.
Yeah, so
not into that.
Yeah, so Uvek's plan B is maybe more extreme, I think. Something never done with a hornless before.
Okay.
He offers to become a blood brother with Murtagh, to actually become real brothers and share honor for their whole lives.
Hell yeah, brother.
Totally. Sadly, when Murtagh reaches out to Thorn to ask about this, Thorn is basically broken and doesn't
Yes.
have any strong opinions and just says whatever you think. It's really brutal.
Go for it if you have to.
Yeah, they're in such a bind. To his credit, Murtagh lets Uvek know that his honor is not in good standing by most of the known world, and that he might not want to share honor with him. Uvek will accept this burden if Murtagh will, and with that, they decide to become blood brothers.
Yes.
It's freaking cool.
Yes, it is.
The Urgals are the best.
Yes, things are looking up for you, Dane.
Yeah. First, Murtagh has to make a vow in Urgalish, which takes an hour, but he's just relieved it isn't in the ancient language. But then my new favorite Urgal says something that I think is true in this magical world.
Yeah.
If you won't keep your word in one language, it is very unlikely you will keep it in any language.
That's a really good point, yeah.
So they swear an oath and have to cut their skin next, but Murtagh doesn't have a knife. There's a very funny exchange when Uvek is like, just use your nails, brah. And Murtagh's like, I'm not an Urgal, dude. And these two are going to get along fine, I think.
I think so.
Anyway, Murtagh uses a pin on his cloak to cut himself on his wrist.
Okay.
And then they reach between the cells and touch their blood together and speak their oaths in Urgalish.
Hell yeah.
When it's
Predator
done,
handshake.
Hell yeah. Definitely. When it's done, Murtagh takes the stone and It doesn't work.
Fuck.
It's a.
I was like, what?
Legitimately, I was like, I really was like, what the
Come
fuck?
on.
That's a bummer, man.
Yeah.
These two brothers are really in a pickle because now they're really together.
Yeah.
And Murtagh is exhausted and broken.
Yeah.
He falls asleep again, and when he wakes, he finds that the diamond in his cloak.
Oh, that's right.
With all the energy he sold, that was like to bursting.
Could have probably helped.
Could have helped at any moment.
That's a classic Eragon.
Yeah, it's got enough to heal him, like Uvek, Thorn, but Murtagh and Uvek still can't access the magic.
Okay.
Finally, in a moment of clarity, he realizes that he might have a way to get the drugs out of the food.
Ooh.
He asks Elaine
Yes.
if she can personally bring him all his meals, even telling her he wants to escape.
Yes.
He begs her, and it's really his only play
It
at
is,
this point.
and I do like that it involves him just being like totally guileless, like
Yeah.
completely vulnerable. He just lays his cards out and he's like trusting this woman to have empathy and do the right thing.
And he's asking for help again, essentially.
Yes,
He's like, please help
exactly.
me.
Yeah.
The next day, it's pressing business as usual with Michelle.
Great.
Elaine avoids him, but Murtagh isn't bothered because he's allowed to sit with Thorn.
Oh,
And the dragon has finally found the steady burn of his anger. And bro,
yes.
I too am getting excited for this. It might not be nice, but vengeance is better than sadness.
Yes, it is.
Without end. And I love revenge!
Yes.
Anyway, and it's more probably good news that Elaine shows up to the prison that night, clearly distraught, makes Murtagh takes...
Weird that that's good news in this story at this point,
Right.
but like, we're going to fucking take it.
Exactly. Murtagh takes Uvek's advice and allows her to unburden herself before
Yes.
pressing his case. She's super torn about defying Michelle and the core tenets of her entire belief system.
Yeah.
But what's happening goes against everything Michelle has preached before.
Yes.
Murtagh plays it perfectly, appealing to Elaine's innate sense of what is right and wrong and her need to escape the dread and confinement of the world she knows.
Yeah.
He's totally vulnerable, and she allows him to comfort her by touching her face.
That'll do it.
These two kids. I'm just saying. He swears to take her with them when they escape, and she rushes off, returning a second later to bring his meal without any word.
Yes.
Uvek thinks his bro crushed it, and he's right to have faith in his bro because Murtagh tastes no hint of the Vorgathan in the meal.
Yes.
So let's go.
Let's fucking go.
It's on now. So the blood bros have to wait it out while the
I know.
drugs
I was
wear
like,
off.
hurry up, and then we got some
Nope,
time.
we gotta wait. Hoping it will be soon because they're sure something bad is going to go down at this festival.
Yes, and it's like they've been prepping for days
This
at this
like
point.
huge thing
Yeah,
that's coming up. It seems the dude Murtagh can't quite recognize has the same idea because he hits the road with some of the visitors while unfortunately fucking Lyrith and a few
No.
others stay to await the party.
Great.
You know what it means though?
What?
Revenge is on the table with Lyrith.
About to be served cold, do you think?
Oh yes, it is a dish best served cold.
Yes.
When Elaine shows up with his dinner, he asks her to help get things prepped for the jailbreak. She's super hesitant, but she says she'll try to get supplies and tend to Thorn.
Okay.
Uvek's been quiet during the wait, but finally he voices a kernel of doubt that Elaine is going to pull through.
Come on, Uvek.
Come on, man. Murtagh seems to take the position that they need to trust her, and to dispel the tension in the meantime, he asks Uvek to tell him a little story.
Also gave me big Eragon and Nargarshpra vibes.
Yeah, he's
when
like, tell me a story.
Yeah, tell me another.
Yeah, so
Like, Jesus. Remember Garshpra like hunted, cooked,
Yeah, did
cleaned,
everything.
did the dishes, and
Was
Eragon's
leading him.
Yeah, great. Now tell me a story.
Tell me a story now.
Lol.
The story of Anno is a continuation of a story that our original Urkel, Brah, Nagash Brah,
Oh, the connections abound.
yeah, told Eragon in a deleted scene from the deluxe edition of Prison Guard.
Okay.
Christopher Paolini loves his fans, so I'll link to where he put it on his website if you've
Cool.
never read it. I just hope this is a foreshadowing some future hot boy road trip vibes from Murtagh and Uvek like we had with
Yes.
Eragon and
Hell
Nagash
yeah.
Brah. The last time Anno came up, this sad book totally could use it. Also,
Strong agree.
can we say that there was a little bit of like romantic attention between Eragon and
100%.
Gashbra?
Yeah. We the end of that where they're like, I'll miss you, bro.
I miss you too. Okay, the Anno story here is about the tricksy demigod's time as a wolf,
Yes.
and Murtagh seems to be interested in what it says about finding your community and sticking with them.
So interesting.
Yeah, well played, Uvek.
Yeah.
Well played. Sadly, all the lightness we get for now because a nice bedtime story comes to torturous dreams, and they are extra this time.
Yay.
Like the last round, they include a dream flashback. This one is Murtagh's flight from Urobane as a teen with Tornak.
Right.
The man, not the horse.
Right.
Well, I guess they were both there. Reading this was like watching a slow motion train wreck.
Yeah.
We know how it ends, but it's impossible to look away.
Yep.
My main takeaway was just how sad it is to see the small moment of affection and warmth from Tornak, because we know how closely Murtagh carries those memories with him.
Yeah.
Tornak reassures Murtagh that he needs to build his life outside of Gal's clutches before they're ambushed. Then Tornak is stabbed in the back after killing a soldier that had the advantage on Murtagh when our clumsy emo baby tripped. Another whoopsie-daisy.
I know. Why are you like this?
The worst chain of reaction ever.
Yes.
I'm definitely seeing the Brahm, Eragon, Razak parallels, and Murtagh
Yeah.
and Tornak's final farewell is also deeply sad.
Yes.
And from there, the nightmare cycle through another Black Sun apocalypse before
Great.
warping up with Nasawada crying and unattainable.
Yeah.
With
They
a,
like can't reach each other, right?
yeah, I wonder what that dream means.
So weird.
With a gargantuan beast stirring in the distance. He wakes in a panic with the village losing his collective mind in the streets.
Yeah.
He's trying frantically to reach the diamond's energy and channel into Uvek's charm.
Yes.
But the drugs are still clouding his mind, and time's up.
Fuck.
The party is here. Party time, Murtagh.
It takes us to chapters 22 through 24. Our last section starts with the cultists dragging Murtagh out of his cell, and with the drugs wearing off, the first thing Murtagh notices is the overwhelming smell. So that's the first maybe good sign. I never thought I'd be excited for rotten egg stench, but this book has taken us places, Dane. I've been somewhere. I've been through some things.
But yeah, what we think is good now, only mere chapters ago, we would have been like, oh my.
To what?
Yeah, exactly.
So the courtyard is once again in party mode, but now it's extra. The large stone altar has been brought in. Bashel is presiding over everything with Grieve at her side, and Lyrith is already there being a douchebag. The cultists are chanting and doing peak culty shit, but they got a little glow up, and now they wear like leather jerkins, scaled like dragons with their half dragon masks, not magical like Bashel's, but the same style.
Clearly inspired by.
Yes, she's clearly the trendsetter
Yeah.
in this group. Murtagh stands beside Bashel as the cultists line up to tell her their increasingly nightmarish dreams. It sounds like it takes hours, which if we hadn't just read the last 10 chapters, I would say it was torture, but... But now I know better. Lyrith seems hopped up on something and he's all twitchy. Did you pick up on that? I mean, we've been talking so much about drugs. I feel like I'm just primed for it. But it's fucking weird.
I think everyone's affected by the boar meat, the
Okay.
smoke, and whatever's in the caves.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hate that guy and I hope he gets got. Revenge is coming your way, Lyrith.
Big same, dude.
Yeah.
So when it's done, like the procession of dreams, the feast gets underway with Bashel gorging herself once again, drinking out of the goblet Murtagh took as his souvenir. After dinner, there's the presentation and burning of nightmare art projects. Like a fucked up Agadi
Dude, when I was reading this, I was like, what the fuck is going
happening?
on?
It's like got all the cult hits. And then Uvek and the other prisoners are herded out. All those who swear fealty will be freed to live amongst the cultists. Freedom indeed. But a select few, including Uvek, will be sacrificed to Aslager. Murtagh doesn't think he can reasonably get out of here with Bashel and all her soldiers at the ready, so he's forced to just stand by while Bashel loses her shit and stabs a man in the heart, rips open his stomach, and pulls out his guts. She's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, talk about a crazy girl. I mean, like...
That's mommy issues
This
right
is
there. That's what
mommy
that'll
issues,
do.
hardcore.
Dude. You don't get to dismemberment without mommy.
Yeah, you don't get to dismemberment with daddy issues.
No. But it's now Murtagh's turn to do the killing.
Yeah.
And Bashel brings a woman to the altar. It's rough because Murtagh really mulls over just getting it over with, just doing this.
Yeah.
But our tricksy boy makes the right choice, linking minds with Uvek and Thorn using the drops of their energy that they can like give as the drugs wear off. And he finally breaks into the yellow diamond.
Yes.
Yes, just as he's lowering the dagger towards this poor woman, Murtagh harnesses his newly tapped energy to heal himself with Uvek's charm, and with Bashel yelling at him to finish it, he smiles up at her before turning the dagger on her and shouting a spell. Fuck yes, Murtagh, let's do this.
Let's do it, dude.
Yes, his wind spell seems to be working like indirectly, precisely as he planned. 1 point for Murtagh. But there are some oversights, in my opinion, because his initial strike uses all the energy in the diamond.
Not
all
great.
gone.
Not great.
I would think that leaves him in a bad spot, but I'm so ready for this fight. I will overlook it. He puts the crudest of wards back up on himself before launching a mental offensive at Bashel.
Yeah.
But the witch summons herself a cloak of crows. It's metal as fuck.
It is metal as
And then
fuck.
she launches it at Murtagh. He fells the entire murder with a single death word.
Fuck yeah.
But not in time to prevent Bashel, Grieve, and the noble guests from slipping away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the chase is on, dude. Murtagh frees and heals Thorn, and the dragon lets holy hell rip the second he returns to himself.
Get him, dude!
Yes, Murtagh does the same thing for Uvek, who also roars, and it is time to go ham. Elaine starts to bring Thorn's gear from the temple, but she's snatched by Grieve. So first order of business is to do a little divide and conquer. Thorn is going to fuck up this village, and Murtagh is headed straight for Elaine. Murtagh is ambushed immediately by fucking Lyrith. And this little weenie gets enough of a jump on Murtagh to put him in a pretty dire spot. I'm like, no, dude.
No, dude. There's no way. I was just like, come on.
It's surprise attack is all I've got. But it's our guy Uvek to the rescue, tossing Lyrith across the room like a rag doll. Murtagh and Lyrith inexplicably get into a battle of words and threats because Murtagh would rather bring Lyrith to Naswada's justice than kill him. I'm like, this is fucking crazy.
There's no way.
I love the dedication to your girl, Murtagh, but like, we are on a time crunch. And I am ready for a fight, my
Fuck shit
dude.
up, Murtagh.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. Luckily, I don't have to wait long because these two overgrown middle schoolers basically double dog dare each other to to duel fucking guys. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being sexist, but I'm like,
it's a little bit of sexism. I would have just stabbed this guy. I'm not going to lie.
That's fair. Like, oh, you won't. Oh,
no.
But Uvek approves of this, so I am on board. I'm a little shocked that Murtagh, the best fighter, according to the transitive property of Sword Bros, doesn't immediately waste Lyrith, but the asshole fights dirty. Maybe we'll give Murtagh a little bit of a pass.
Yeah.
He's fighting a little bit like a dandy, and he doesn't have any weapons, and Lyrith has this knife. But Murtagh, thank God, is good with a knife, and he manages to stab Lyrith through the chest with his own blade, which is a baller move.
Thank God, yeah.
The actual dying takes so long that even Murtagh has time to realize this was an unnecessary boss fight. Yes, dude.
Yeah.
He tries to keep Lyrith alive for questioning, but the culty wards prevent the healing spell, so it's just a real confusing mixed bag.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a amulet.
Yes.
So it's
he just has like cult wards on him.
It's crazy.
Yes. Lyrith dies with a final insult, calling Murtagh a bastard. And I thought that was a pretty cheap shot for Murtagh to reply that Eragon's the bastard before hurrying to find Elaine. I was like, that's fucking harsh, dude. Leave our bean boy out of it.
Yeah, I thought that bastard comment was both kind of funny, but I couldn't tell if it was shade or like a weird version of like, wrong brother.
I guess I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's that one.
I think it's that one.
I hope. From here, Uvek and Murtagh run into Grieve and 7 guards. In the course of their pre-fight insults, Grieve says that Uvek is the Urgel's greatest shaman, so Uvek really can't do no wrong. He's badass.
He's the best.
Also, with everything like Grieve said, do you think we can start to confirm he's possibly like half Urgel? I thought a lot of what he told Uvek was telling.
Yeah, I definitely thought the comment about picking the people who accept him was pretty telling.
Yes.
So there's something like maybe he was, the Urgels didn't want a half Urgel, or
I think so. That was definitely the read I got. Spoiler alert, it doesn't matter for long. The fight is epic. Uvek and Murtagh just decimate the guards while Grieve just bides his time like an asshole.
It's weird.
But when he joins the chaos, there's maybe more evidence for your half Urgel theory because he's strong as hell.
Yeah.
He also comes into the fight guns blazing, attacking both Uvek and Murtagh's minds, which I wasn't expecting. I don't know why, but he came in hot.
Yes.
It definitely scared me about how hard this was going to be for our blood bros.
I will say this confused me. These cultists don't seem to have formal magical educations, but they're matching some of the big players.
Yeah.
In this fight, you have Murtagh, who has, we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
The best mind protection on probably all of Alagazi at this point, after all the torture.
Yeah.
And the greatest Urgel shaman who contacts spirits and can presumably protect his mind from spirits. It just strikes me as a little inconsistent. If those are the two guys you're fighting together, they should be able to pretty much ignore you and take you out. Right.
That makes sense. Only given that Murtagh can't use any magic on him and that would even the playing field at least a little bit. But if it makes you feel any better, the whole mind magic part of this matters almost not at all. Uvek and Murtagh waste the last guard, so it's 2-on-1 now. Grieve is clearly warded to the gills, just like Lyrith was. There must be something wild happening with these cult wards because it is concerning. And luckily, it seems like Murtagh has a plan. Thank God.
Thank God.
He goes and digs Zarok out from where Bashel hid it and borrows a little flare from Eragon, lighting it on fire, powered by all the energy in Zarok's ruby. So he has a little re-up on his energy.
Yes.
He strikes at Grieve, feeding the fire while Uvek puts the beat down on him. And finally, with molten drops falling from Zarok, Grieve's wards break and Murtagh slices through the dude's head.
Nice.
Yes. He does accidentally also cut through Uvek's horn, but mistakes happen.
I mean,
bros forgive bros.
come
They're
on.
fine. So now it's time for a full arming montage as Murtagh like kits out with all his old gear, finds a shield. I love that he and Uvek are just like shooting the shit, razzing each other and like laughing after this fight. They're
Pretty
just
good.
chef's kiss. And all along, Thorn has been raining fire up in this bitch and does not need any help, which just is great. Worth a mention. Thorn deserves to break shit for a while.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe forever. I don't know. Uvek heads off to rescue some Urgles he knows are stuck in Null Gorgoth, but not before he puts his forehead to his blood, bro. What a scene, dude.
Yeah, the best moment. He's my favorite Urkel now.
Yes.
He's Murtagh's Auric.
100%.
100%, right?
Yes. He's a good mix of Auric and Garshbra.
Yeah. Also, I do love, just really quickly, that our new like Uvek favorite has to go up there to save some Urgles, essentially from Thorn. He's like, I'm just gonna go get him.
Yeah.
He can keep doing that, but
He's doing great.
You're
doing great, sweetie, but I'm just going to do a little damage control if you don't
so
mind.
funny.
100%.
Yeah.
So this is it, Dane. It's time for Murtagh to go after Bashel to bring this witch down for good and rescue Elaine. He finds them deep under the temple, back in that fucking cave. And I don't know if I'm ready to say he's learning, but even he has misgivings about confronting Bashel at this
Good.
point. So that's better.
Yeah.
It's definitely better.
I'm not gonna lie, if I was him, I would have left. Elaine would have died.
He knows he cannot leave Elaine. Like
Yeah.
he can't have it on his conscience. He conferences with Thorn about it as the dragon brings down the tower with the villages in shambles. And they decide that Thorn will stay behind to keep the dreamers busy and have a really tense convo, like dancing around Thorn's claustrophobia as they're
Yes.
kind of deciding what they're going to do. But they both have their missions and they're prepared to finish this. So this episode's chapters end with Murtagh's guttural cry as he charges into the cave. And I'm pumped, but scared. But pumped. What a fucking roller coaster today, dude.
Totally, man.
It has been a ride. So I know I'm usually all themes this, literary symbolism that, but I have a little something fun up my sleeve today that I think will bring some lightness to this downer.
Oh, thank you. We need it.
Yes, in my defense, it does deal directly in symbols.
Gonna read us tarot cards or something?
I might.
It's time for analysis.
So I was thinking, since we put our dreams up on the chopping block at the beginning of this episode, it's
Yes.
only fair that we get to put our witch hats on, not witch like Bashel, just like fun.
Like fun witches.
Fun witchy woo-woo hats on and decode some of Murtagh's dreams.
Let's
so I was
do
going to
it.
get back on dreamdictionary.org and see like what we have. I'm thinking main players in Murtagh's dreams are like apocalypse.
Yes.
Okay. Let's look. Armageddon. Intense. These dreams bring your awareness to your internal conflict or struggle between right and wrong.
Oh, wow. You know who might have been on dreams.org?
I see you, Christopher Paolini. These dreams are metaphors that reflect what is taking place in your waking life. A decision is based entirely on you.
Oh, wow. What about dragons?
Yes, for sure. Let's do dreams about dragons.
Or do you have any ancient worms?
No, just dragons.
Okay.
I don't think the people who did dreamdictionary.org are as big of nerds as we are. They're actually wyvern.
That's a thing,
actually?
her, clearly.
Okay, so it sheds light for the dreamer to become aware of this dangerous threat that consumes them. I think that what I'm getting here is it revolves around the idea that like a dragon is in primal human lore a creature to be slain.
Gotcha. All right.
So like it kind of it's like an underlying fear, something like unconscious that you feel like you have to slay your demons here, and these could be manifested as feelings of anger, rage, hatred, vengeance, and resentment.
Perfect.
Does that sound like anybody we know?
Not anybody on this book.
Okay, what about he dreams a lot about like battles and war, right? Like
I think that's mostly the PTSD, but yes, he does.
well, he dreams of like going into a big
Conquering.
Urgle battle or
Yes,
like
yes,
that kind of
yes,
thing.
yes.
Let's see. Wars are very symbolic, suggesting inner conflict that needs to be resolved.
Oh my gosh.
This is perfect.
Yeah, Chris Paolini, we see you.
Oh, Often the war takes place in our mind as we're trying to resolve two opposing negative factors. So two things, both bad.
Oh, gosh.
And you're trying to, I'm like, oh, well, that tracks.
What about kings?
Okay.
Because he's king of the empire a lot.
That's true. Let's see. Dane, this is true. A king is a symbol that represents power. Power, control, achievement. It indicates that you are able to control your issues in life. So maybe that's a little bit of like engaging in wishful thinking. Oh.
Yeah. Or if he could control it if he did take over everybody and enslave them.
I think so, yeah. And the king may also mirror a fatherly figure you want in your life to hold you up. Maybe it's like a subconscious like cry for help from Murtagh to like... find a dad that he's like out of his depth. Maybe his dreams know it before he knows that he needs to ask for help.
Do you think Murtagh's going to become a stripper?
I wouldn't be mad about it. He's ripped. I was also picking up like unrequited love as often as he dreams of Niswada, but they're always like they can't be together in these dreams. So
they can't be together in real life. That's so clear.
So true.
I'm getting a feeling it's going that way, but something's really difficult.
Something's between them that is not quite resolved. Okay. Dreamdictionary.org failing me a bit. Does not have unrequited love. It just has love. And it does actually, it brings up some Carl Jung. All you Jung heads out here into psychology. It says you may be encountering or meeting the anima or animus, the inner feminine side of a man or the inner masculine side of a woman. I don't know if I have anything
dead parents
for that.
Screw love. Give us some dead parents.
Okay. Oh, no. There's a whole page on this website. Are you dreaming of your dead father?
Oh, no.
I think this is fairly common. That makes total sense. Let's see.
Does it?
That people would dream of their dead dads? I think, don't people talk all the time about how their like loved ones who have passed visit them in dreams? I think it's that. Yeah. I think it's super common. Let's see. We have, why did he visit? He's talking to me. He was angry in my dream. He's smiling and hugging, coming home and sleeping. Ooh, dying again. That's us.
There it is.
Maybe you had trouble processing what you experienced in the way he died is what it says.
Oh.
That makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
I think between that and like maybe the king symbolizing needing some help from a father, I'm kind of on board.
Who knew? You could just go to dreams.org or whatever.
Dream Dictionary reputable.org.
Dreams Dictionary reputable.
No. I'm just saying it's a reputable site because it's a .org. It's a nonprofit, Dane. Not for profit. That's a tool to help the people.
You mean the Dream Dictionary is a non-profit? There's no money in dreams?
I mean, they would never purport to take your money for their serious public service. That was fun. I'm into that.
Yeah, we went deep on them dreams.
I did try.
You know what we're going to do?
I had to have fun, Dane.
Now?
What?
Let's go to a deep dive. For this week's deep dive, we want to talk about some of the really cool magical elements we've seen.
Yes.
And how they might change or expand the magic system. And try to just kind of nerd out on some magic.
You're also trying to have fun today.
Yeah, trying to loosen up a bit.
To keep it light.
First, let's discuss the hard magic system, which has always revolved around the ancient language and grammary.
Yes.
Now we have more and more of this language-free use of the same magic system.
Right.
And while we don't have any details yet, it's fascinating. We haven't met anyone who fully understands or explains it. But I want to know more. Yeah,
it definitely seems like it's got some trump cards that we should be afraid of.
Yeah, let's talk about what we do know, though. We know already that the ancient language was created by the Grey Folk to control magic because using it without words was extremely dangerous.
Yes.
Basically, if something or someone distracted you while you were casting a spell, it could have deadly consequences for those around you, but also for you. Now it seems we're encountering someone who uses nameless magic all the time without any real trouble. Michelle seems to use it effortlessly, which makes me wonder if what we know about using magic without the ancient language is wrong. If using magic purely on intention can be mastered, maybe these amulets, or at the very least, this cult, could hold secrets.
Ooh.
Very interested
Yes.
in that, as this kind of changes everything for the world. I also want to say here that it's clear why nameless magic has become a factor in the inheritance cycle. Christopher Paolini totally needed a way to prevent the name of names from being the like answer to all of the problems in the
Yes.
future stories.
Yeah.
And while I respect that, I wonder if creating an entirely new magic system for a new group of people would have been more fun. Basically,
Okay.
not messing with any of this stuff, just a whole new system.
Yes.
But I still like the idea of nameless magic, and I'm really excited to learn more about it.
Okay.
We've also seen some new cool things like the door in the guard tower with the gems inside of it. We
Yeah.
know that was probably a holdover from an old Morzan or Forsworn hideout,
Mm-hmm.
but it suggests we'll see more of this kind of magic in the future of the world of Eragon.
Yeah.
And since Duvrengar Garda is expanding and many of those magicians are lieutenants in the war,
Yeah, they are.
they're likely already learned about storing magic and are using it with like in new ways.
In the same way, yeah.
And I can't wait to see all the interesting things that like implanted gems will bring in the future of Alagasia.
I mean, it seems like the only way you could power something that approaches like the type of magical technology you were kind
Yeah.
of like red stringing off about a couple of deep dives ago. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, not only will the world be more like magical, it'll be more blingy. A lot more
Hell yeah.
bedazzled items.
The aesthetics are on point.
On point. The two big new things, though, we saw here that I probably am most excited about is first, the regenerative wards on Mukbah.
Yes.
I wonder if that's something Murtagh will work on in the future because it has some huge implications.
Yeah.
If these regenerative wards were known worldwide, the name of names would be essentially useless, which is big, but more important is the change to the world. Permanent, unbreakable wards that can never be removed. Mind-blowing.
Yes.
This could change like literally everything. Imagine making structures that can't break, machines
damn.
that never degrade, plants that always grow, lights that never go out, soldiers with endless wards. The potentials are limitless depending on the creativity of the wards and
Yeah.
obviously the energy supplying them. I wonder if Murtagh will share the secret or keep it up his sleeve.
Good point.
Will he tell Duvrengar Gata or maybe even the riders in Eragon? This could be a game-changing, very powerful if he keeps it to himself.
Yes.
The other thing we see in this section, especially with Uvek and his rock, I think Urgals might have their own magical spell storage system,
Yes.
almost like wands or scrolls with the rock that Uvek had. It seems like a rune-based activation magic, similar maybe to gem magic,
Okay.
which is super cool. I was
Yeah.
scratching my head because we haven't seen anything like this other than in gems before.
Okay.
And the closest thing I can think of is the scrying hammer necklace Eragon was gifted by the dwarfs.
yes.
Which always had a spell being used and powered by Eragon.
Yeah, it fed off his own energy.
Yeah, this must be an augmented version that holds a spell for later use. It also connects some of the magic we saw from the dwarves to the Urgals, and I think they're already connected in the past somehow with their toes and some of the other things.
Yes.
So that's kind of exciting.
This weird proto, grieve type.
Yeah, like his
long
grieve,
arms.
like between them,
Something is
there's
up.
something there, right?
Yeah.
If something like these endless wards or rock-based activation magic systems were widely used, this could like create a futuristic world based on magical technology.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about the rock rune thing, and I hope we get an Urgal in the future who can expand on that. Finally, let's talk about like Bashel's dragon mask and the mask of Captain Awarin and Gilead.
Okay.
What are those about? The only thing I can think of that is like they involve some type of new magic that we are unaware of.
Yes.
Do they use the power of the wearer? Which would be my guess.
Yeah.
Are the spells triggered by actions or runes or something new? It seems to me something new, as nothing has been hinted at all about these.
Yeah, we saw no markings on them.
No.
We saw
My guess, since it's connected to Bashel and the Dreamers, is that it involves something like the amulets based on the ancient language free magic.
Gotcha.
The cool thing is combining all of these new magical elements in this book is kind of exciting with some really cool futures ahead.
Yeah.
And just so many possibilities.
so many possibilities. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people think that's cool, Dane?
You know, we don't have a lot of time for love. Jacqui, because there are people who don't think things are cool. The haters!
Oh.
Actually,
You should do your research,
if you
huh?
refer to
Have
the
you even
original
read it?
text,
How you pronounce it?
What are the haters saying?
There is an index in the back, right?
this is overly
It's just a
derivative.
copycat.
This week on One of the Haters saying I have two things I want to touch on.
Okay.
First, a quick mention, and then we'll dive into the larger issue I think they have.
Okay.
The first small thing I want to mention is the perceived power change between Murtagh in this story and the Murtagh in the last series.
Okay.
The haters are saying that Murtagh was the best swordsman. We talked about that a lot.
Yes.
We make fun of it a lot in the Inerrant Cycle. He was better than Eragon and beat him several times, even fighting off the combined magical forces of Eragon, Arya, Saphira, and 12 of the best magically trained elves the elven nation had. Yet here in this story, he doesn't seem to know much about magic. He's constantly finding himself outclassed.
Yes.
People are comparing that powerful Murtagh in that story to this one, and forgetting a few pretty important things, I would say.
Yeah.
First and most important, Murtagh's greatest weakness is his inability to make the right decisions because of his trauma and personality.
Yes, something we dug deep into last time.
This story is different. Murtagh isn't facing another dragon rider in a one-on-one combat with Eldenari at his side.
Yes.
And the greatest evil wizard king ever remembered and his armies at his back.
Yes.
These are complicated missions, and he can't just kill everyone around him all the time. Plus, Michelle is an enemy who can protect her men against magic and isn't really afraid of the might of Thorn.
Yeah.
Unless Murtagh is thinking about murdering every man, woman, and child in this village as possible casualties of war, which should be out of the question, by the way. Then he's kind of in a danger if he doesn't leave in the beginning. As far as his magical abilities go, Murtagh just wasn't trained. He got a bunch of Eldenari and words from Galbatorix and used those. And that makes perfect sense to me. He was a better swordsman than Eragon in those first few fights because he had a lot more support.
Yes.
Now he's without any of those. So I don't think this is a big deal, and I don't see it. I mean, Thorn and Murtagh could have probably just got the werecut too in the beginning. Could have just pushed through the door.
Yeah.
But he would have had to reveal himself, killing innocent guards, just doing their jobs, not to mention burning down the city, killing more innocents and all that. This is Murtagh put in a more subtle situation, and I don't think the haters are really sifting through that.
Yes, the haters are hoping for more brute force, which would be an option, but not a great one.
It's not a great option. I mean, he probably could have done some of these things, but would he have done them? And if he can't do them that way, he's not really trained for these other ways.
Yes.
So for the larger and I think more important issue people are having with the story, I want to dive into the tone of this book and how some longtime readers aren't vibing with it.
Yes.
Online, I've seen everything from Murtagh ruined the series for me to why I don't like Murtagh, and all these posts and comments seem to boil down to the tone of the book.
Okay.
The haters don't seem to like that Murtagh gets trapped, enslaved, and tortured again.
Yes.
And here's the thing, haters. I don't think any of us like what's happening to Murtagh in this book.
No.
This book is, to a large extent, a sad story about a man and his dragon trying to grapple with who they are and prove that they aren't broken or bad.
Yes.
Unfortunately, what Murtagh needs to learn is that he needs other people. He keeps getting into trouble because he's vain, he's prideful, he's quick to anger, and he's impulsive.
Yeah.
And I think the problem for a lot of readers is that many people came back to the series with Murtagh remembering Eragon as a childhood favorite filled with nostalgia, adventures, and fond memories.
Yeah.
And now they come to this new book set in the same world, and things are different. They're darker and older.
Yes.
Now that we are inside Murtagh's head, his edgy exterior and cool quips were containing a man whose point of view is selfish, vain, prideful,
full of trauma.
Yeah, that might not seem so bad at first, but he's constantly thinking on his past.
Yes.
And that is filled with nightmare vignettes of pain, trauma, and abuse.
Yes.
But then, despite all of his internal warning signs and thoughts of leaving, and Thorn saying they should beat it, his pride traps him, leading into more torture.
Yes.
So if you're coming into this book thinking, Murtagh was this edgy guy from the series I loved as a kid, and I'm excited to return to the magic world, you're met with a brutal, traumatic, and dark journey of a man repeating his past mistakes and having to suffer through a world that has branded him a villain.
Yes.
You might think, man, the tone of this book is not what I remembered. This isn't as cool as my childhood world. And I get it. The tone is darker, and Murtagh's story is more complex, nuanced, and interesting.
Yeah.
Here's not a clean-cut hero or villain, and the narrative captures that well, I think.
Yes.
Personally, I struggle with some parts of this section. Reading about Murtagh's torture wasn't pleasant for me, but I do think it served a purpose. It forced this prideful man to confront his mistakes and realize he should have asked for help.
Yeah.
The last time he let his anger and pride get the best of him, he killed the Dwarven king and tortured the woman he loved while hating a brother who had just as much at stake as him.
Yeah.
But Murtagh came in alive, victorious, and the good guys even beat back the evil king, partly because of his actions.
Yeah.
Yet at the end of those events, he didn't learn the lessons that he wasn't invincible and that he wasn't the only one who suffered. He didn't learn that there is more to the world than just how you feel, but that people like Eragon and Naswada are doing things because they are right.
Yeah.
Instead, he learned that he was tough enough, smart enough, and brave enough to do anything. He learned the wrong lessons and kept all the pain.
Yep. That's quite a doozy.
I know. So the new ordeal shows him he can't keep going rogue.
Yeah.
It shows him he has to be less reckless. He's not the center of the world. Others are suffering and living their lives too. It shows that maybe there are people in his life he's pushed away who would have been there for him or who he could have easily reached out to.
Yes.
Maybe there's another way for Murtagh to think and act. Still be the man he is, just a little better.
Yes.
A little less angry at the world.
Just a bit. I mean, we still want emo, but like not this emo.
Exactly. And the only way to show this hard-headed man his heirs was either 50 years of solitude and wisdom, or unfortunately a quick confrontation with himself through 2 months of torture and possible an early death.
Woof.
Yeah. But I don't think the tone shift is just about Murtagh being a more complex, darker, and grittier character.
Yeah.
It's the world we're inside now. If you loved the world of Alagasia and Eragon, you probably admired Nasawada as a leader.
Yeah.
But in this book, Duvringer Garda is essentially a magic Gestapo.
Yes.
And Nasawada is enslaving or constraining human magic users.
Tough look.
The werecats aren't all fun and games. They're serious power brokers and political animals. See what I did there? Truly affecting the world. The evil in the story involves torturing and kidnapping people, and the lords didn't just go down in the last war. They're still there, and they're plotting against the new queen.
Yes.
And there's this glaring absence. There is no Arya. There is no Eragon. The tone is much more adult.
Yes.
Much darker, stripped of the whimsy that characterized the early books.
Yeah.
Even Mukma is a character born from the torture of fish
Yes.
by fishermen and the spite of a shade.
So true.
There's a tone in that. Like,
Yeah.
think of Esfar, the guard, and his ignorant innocence, and his anger at the idea that a new friend could betray him so easily.
Yeah.
Esfar talks at length about how he sees the world, and it's clearly black and white and full of whimsy and the exuberance of youth. And Murtagh knows that it's just not that way.
Yeah.
We know that it's just not that way
Yes.
as readers.
What a good point.
And the lens of this book is much darker, less whimsical, and more serious than the Inherent Cycle so far.
For sure.
If you haven't visited this series in 20 years, love Murtagh the character, sat down to read this book, I think it makes sense that you might not like the tone.
Yeah.
But I don't think that means that this book is bad or that it changes the Inherent Cycle in a negative way.
Yes.
What it means is that you're getting a much more adult Inherent Cycle, a more grown-up World of Eragon, and for that, I am excited. So,
Yeah.
haters, back off. Relax.
Well, it's one of those things that I can understand if dark fantasy is just not for you. It's not for you.
Yeah.
That's a personal choice, but I think it makes a lot of sense why Christopher Paolini would approach this book in this way.
Of course.
I mean, he knows what age his reader base is. He knows we're not all 11 anymore. We're like pushing 40. And like a lot of us are in the market for a more nuanced, more complex, maybe darker story. And that's exactly what this is.
Yeah, there's a cynicism here
Yes.
and a pragmatism here that is just, it is really not in the first book.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's right. It's so funny. I do think of Mukma as like still maybe a vestige of that whimsical kind of vibe. But you're right. Even he's like
even the
product
stuff that
of torture, and like Esvar is like us, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed children reading the Inheritance Cycle, and Murtagh kills that dream.
And Murtagh is sitting there while we're getting that like view of the world, going, "This guy's an idiot."
Yes,
you know.
Yeah.
So I do think that's different. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's hard to read too about yourself. If that's like a take on if you see yourself in Esvar, you're like, well, fuck, I'm not stupid. I'm just happy. Damn, Murtagh. But I think it has a lot of consistencies here, and like we've talked about before, I think it makes a lot of sense as a character study, as a book. You know,
totally. Well,
whew, Dane, we made it.
We made it. We got one more.
Hell yeah! I'm so excited.
Me
We're
too.
not getting tortured anymore. Now we're just fighting.
I'm happy now that we're past the torture.
We're kicking ass.
I just didn't like the torture, but
it was tough. It was dark.
But here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you for listening. Make sure to rate and review, especially on Apple Podcasts. Support on Patreon and check out our social media at Is This Just Fantasy Pod on TikTok or at Just Fantasy Pod on Instagram. If you have any questions or just want to write to us about the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. And you can email us at isthisjustfantasypod@gmail.com.
Yes, and if you want to keep pace and read along with us on the next episode, we will be finishing this book. We're covering all of parts 4 and 5, the end of Murtagh. Let's do this.
Woohoo!
Let's get this witch.
This is just fantasy. We're just two nerds and we love our fantasy. Come on and listen to us next time. Find out what our deep dive will be. Thanks for catching our show.